A young child was left to his fate because he was cursed, but little did they know that this young boy would grow up under the care of a leopard and meet a great swordsman, becoming the greatest mercenary ever seen. I am Krawler and I will tell you the story of Helmet, the abandoned child. The story begins with intense pursuit of some mercenaries through the forest. When they finally find a fire and someone apparently sleeping, they decide to attack and throw a dagger that pierces the chest of the person they thought was there. But when they realize, it's too late. Someone is already behind them, wearing dark clothes that hide their presence in the night, as well as their black hair. He asks why they attacked him, and if this is reason enough to claim self-defense. So he rips a branch from the tree and uses it as an arrow. The pursuers mock him, thinking that a branch couldn't hurt anyone. But they soon realize it's not a simple branch, it's imbued with something spectral purple. But just like before, they realize too late. In a matter of seconds, 4 of the 5 pursuers are eliminated, leaving only the apparent leader who begs to be spared. But the archer says that if he was ready to kill, he must also be ready to die. And so he is hit. A short time later, after cleaning up all traces, the archer remembers a phrase from a man named Darian, who told him that the world of humans was dangerous. But the archer retorts that, quite the contrary. The human world is extremely tedious. But who is the archer? Why was he being pursued? And who is Darian? To find out, we will have to go back years in the past, where some cardinals were discussing the traits that the demon king left in the world, especially the Black Forest, which is imbued with demonic energy, and therefore, no one can even approach. A large land that the kingdom cannot occupy is really complicated, but since no one can survive or escape the forest, why not use it as an eternal prison? And that's exactly what he did with a small child. Even with the mother pleading with tears, the child had the cursed seed in her chest. Helmet was given over to the care of the Black Forest to die, a place of total exile, where no one has managed to survive. Not studious geniuses, brave warriors or initiated mages. Criminals who were thrown there had their sentence marked, but if they ever returned, their sins were forgiven. One day, a child was born with the cursed seed, and he was dropped into the demonic realm, from which no one had managed to escape with their lives. The cold and hunger mistreated the child with each passing day. But inside her body, the seed grew inside her heart, and energy erupted from her and covered the child. 1, 2, 10 days passed, and with a lot of resistance, the child survived. But one day, a tiger found him, and the child's fate was finally decided. 10 years later, a child was running after a rabbit, while being watched by a creature on top of a tree. When he finally caught it, the creature revealed itself to be the tiger, named Alaga. She came down to meet the young boy, ending the hunt, and asking if he had gotten used to everything. She also tore out a core from inside the rabbit, saying that all demon creatures have one. If he consumed it, he would become stronger, and the energy in his core would also renew, increasing his life expectancy. The young Helmet even tried to trick her, saying that since he was the one who hunted, he should be the one to keep the core. However, Alaga responded that no, because he was not a demon creature, he was a human. If he consumed it, he would become a demon creature, and if that happened, he would have to live in that forest forever. But it was like that, even if he didn't eat it, he would still be trapped there forever. So why not let the boy be happy? But Alaga responded that he could leave. Before, she had told him that he could not leave, but that was what she really thought, until she met someone who told her it was possible. But who would that be? And that's when Helmet discovered he was not the only human in that forest. He even got shocked, saying he wanted to look for him. But Alaga said that the human must have aged and died, because it's been a long time since they met. Despite him being very strong in the past, nothing escapes the demonic energy of the forest. Helmet didn't feel it because he had the cursed seed, but a normal human doesn't have that ease. Besides, he must already be 90 years old. He's old and worn out. He started insisting there with her, saying he wanted to go and such, to the point he got on her nerves, and she finally told him where the old man's house was. So, Helmet ran to find him. Despite not knowing if he was strong or if he was even alive, the feeling of finding someone similar was very big. So he ran until he found a fence and ended up jumping to the other side. Crazy, doesn't have a drop of shame, right? And that's when he was caught by someone with gray hair, asking who he was and who sent him. But he releases him soon after hearing Alaga's name. But come on, for an old man who is 1 foot in the grave, he is quite powerful. The shape is in good condition. The old man even says that if the boy only came there to find another human, he came to the wrong place. However, that was not it. He wants to leave that place. And then they introduce themselves. The old man is Darian, and Helmet is Helmet. The old man asks why he wants to leave there, because the world outside is not as beautiful and peaceful as he thinks. Out there, humans don't have claws or sharp teeth, but they are cruel and cunning. They also join their forces when necessary, and are capable of betraying when they need to. The human world is treacherous. The old man asks if he was born there, in the forest, but Helmet responds that no, they left him there as soon as he was born, because he had a cursed seed. Darian says that those born with the seed are usually killed as soon as they are born, but considering he was spared, he must be of an important lineage, at least, a noble family. Not that it means much to him since he was abandoned. Darian reveals that the reason he was abandoned there is because of his seed in his chest. As long as it's with him, he will always be pursued even if he leaves the forest, and will probably die by another human's hand. But even knowing all this, the young helmet wants to follow that path. Despite everything, the old man has a debt to Alaga, so he grabs the boy and says that the first step to go to the human world is to learn to behave like one. So he will turn him into one. Helmet asks how he will get out of there, and Darian responds that he will need to cross the forest barrier. But for that, he needs to get strong first. After getting strong, he will need to find someone who knows how to pass the barrier. Who? Helmet asks. But Darren can't answer yet. And our boy's first task is nothing less than sweeping the house. Because all humans do that. Right, except the old man. Because my friend, what kind of dust is this? After that, he is presented with his bed. He will no longer sleep on the floor like an animal. Humans have to act civilized, and to be civilized, he has to wear clothes. The old man then starts to teach him how to know which vegetables can or cannot be eaten, since all of them have a cursed seed in them. But just remove it, and that saying goes, washed it. It's new after that. He starts carrying water as part of his training. Then Alaga arrives scaring him and mocking him for being made a fool of. But he's there because the man told him it would make him strong. But what will he do after becoming strong? Alaga asks. And the boy replies that he's going to the human world, right? Alaga still asks what he thinks will happen if he goes, but Helmet says he doesn't know. He just knows that nothing good will happen while he's there. And then he says goodbye and goes on with the training. You can see here that Alaga is very upset about all this, the separation of the two and such. It must be because she raised him since he was born, right? So a kind of feeling was created there. But Helmet doesn't realize that, because he's a child, right? And then the training sessions begin, leaving the boy almost fainting there from vape pain. And Darian reveals in his thoughts that he isn't teaching him just because of his debt to Alaga. This boy really has something in him. And it's not just the cursed seed. And then after a long training, finally they will eat. However, Darian reveals that the main point to become strong is not just training, as he does not have claws or fangs like beasts. He is a weak human being, and that's why he will start walking the path of the sword from today. The old man starts showing off there and such, swinging his sword and looking pretty. Then I said, basic fencing, right? Not. The guy started dragging the sword across the floor, tearing everything, and with a blink of an eye, he broke a giant rock into thousands of parts. And that's all with a wooden sword. Helmet is already in shock, because he had never seen this, and he is already wondering how he did it. Darian replies that he used this. Just as demonic creatures have demonic energy, humans also have a source of energy. Although his body contains a cursed seed, it is also considered a source of energy. But that's where it is. Despite being excited, he can't learn yet, because his body couldn't handle it. It will be difficult, painful, and at times you may find it impossible to resist. But if you put your heart into it, the sword will reward you. And this is how Helmet begins his first suffering in life. He's all stubborn, saying he's already in perfect shape. But it's not just the shape that matters. Helmet asks what it is then. But Darian travels in thoughts, saying that he is very strange because he doesn't like to learn. But he gets very strong in a shorter time than expected. The seed of darkness causes people to become violent. Moreover, he grew up among the demonic beasts. However, he is incredibly rational. He is not calm or polite, but he has incredible endurance. So, for him to learn to be polite, Darian himself will teach him why form is not the most important thing. Giving, of course, a smack in the kid's hand. And that's when he realizes that the speed and position he applied the blows were different, but he doesn't understand why. Darian then explains that the difference in muscles, the position of the fingers, the speed of fluidity, the following movements, and his understanding of the mind and the sword are the main factors for treading this path. Only then, giving his heart and soul, will he be able to understand. The way he's just swinging his sword, it looks like he's a lumberjack and not a swordsman. Then they start training again. Some time later, Helmet was on his rest, as Darian said that training without rest doesn't work. And then he meets Alaga and they start talking. The debt Darian owes her is because she let him live there with special permission, even though she doesn't like to live with anyone. Because she is the owner of the central areas of the forest, and no matter who invades her territory, she will fight against. But there are exceptions, right? She would only attack if that snake came here. The Neho, the two-headed snake that was trying to get that human. If Alaga and Darian fought, she would likely be exhausted, and Neho would come to finish her off. Helmet then asks if that means she would lose to Darian. But that's a question even she doesn't know. Among demonic beasts, it's easy to know the strength of one another, but humans don't show any energy. They can hide their true strength easily. She's not sure she'd beat Darian, but with that, Neho can't touch him. But why does Neho hate Darian? It's simple, he destroyed the area that the snake built. And Helmet is already curious. What area would that be? So, Alaga decides to take him. They leave through the forest and finally arrive at the place. It was a human farm. Apparently they are all prisoners of the forest that the kingdom left there. Helmet is amazed by all that. Why are they fighting? But most importantly, why are there people similar to him but looking different? And these people are women, right? Since Helmet has never seen one in his life, he doesn't know. Alaga explains everything and says that they are Neho's food, because unlike men, their meat is soft and doesn't have many muscles. But if they're too small, they're nothing to him. That's why he has this farm to raise them until they reach adulthood. Females will become food for Neho, and males will be his slaves for life. Despite Neho saying that he protects the place, it is the humans who keep it, and among them, there is the leader. He finds people who were thrown into the forest and brings them to the farm. If Helmet had been unlucky, he would probably be one of them today. Helmet asks why Alaga saved him, but she seems to make an excuse, right? But in reality, everyone here knows that it's because she has a soft heart. And then when they decide to go back, he appears and the two almost come into conflict. Helmet is shocked by the situation. He has never felt such a strong presence. Neho wonders what she does creating a human, and asks to have a little bite, even though he doesn't eat males. But the bottom line is, what does he have Darian? Alaga quickly intercepts, but Neho doesn't want to fight. He only asked because he smelled him on the boy's clothes. It's been a while since he destroyed his farm, so being careful is a crucial point. If Alaga wasn't there, it was obvious that he would have a mini dinner there. But since he won't be able to have a bite, then he leaves. Helmet ends up passing out after that and is taken by Alaga. At dusk, they go walking and talking about what happened. Alaga says that the boy can't do anything about the farm, but he will have to take precautions and not walk alone through the forest, now that Neho knows of his presence. Helmet is thoughtful and asks if he will be able, someday, to become stronger than her and the old man. She cannot say, as this is something that only time will tell. But if he gives himself body and soul, maybe he can. Soon after she leaves and Darian arrives, the two gather some things and go home, as it is about to get dark. At night, Helmet is having a very bad time, as Darian ordered him to eat poisonous herbs before going to sleep every day, so his seed would stabilize, and he would be able to control it. But, of course, it has its consequences. If we had any doubt that the old man was a psychopath, now we don't, right? And within a short time of training, Helmet was tearing apart trees like a toothpick. Darian asks if he still feels pain when he eats the herbs, but Helmet says no. It's almost like he feels a freshness at dawn. And it looks like he's ready. It made no sense to teach this to a boy who doesn't even have the body to handle it, but now he seems ready. From now on, he will teach the boy how to train this. The old man prepares himself there and starts exhaling the energy from before, sending Helmet to melt the atmosphere and slowly absorb it directly into his sword. This is exactly how you control this. Now, they will duel. If he can't get past there, it's to forget everything and give up on his dream. The old man goes on the attack and almost hits the boy, making a hole in the tree. Helmet even says, "Hey, what was it? Want to kill me?" But he recovers, breathes and goes on the attack. There were long days of training without losing focus, until one day he finally feels the energy in his body. He was ready, and then 4 years passed. Our little Helmet is now handsome, and the old man still hasn't died, which means he wasn't that old, right? He asks to go to a duel with the old man, but he asks to show his vis before that, and when he sees it, he realizes that the amount is huge for his age. Maybe it's part of his seed, but much of it is his own talent. This child will certainly turn the world upside down, whether he is good or bad. Is it finally time to let him go? So the old man says that the time has come. I don't know if it's Helmet's time to go, or the time for the old man to go. Right, he says that if Helmet's seed grows bigger than that, he won't be able to get through the barrier. Then he starts to explain that the human world is beyond the waterfall. In theory, he can go through there to reach the human world. Even though it's a barrier, he might be able to get through because his seed isn't fully evolved. But where is it? Helmet asks. But the old man doesn't know. He never looked for her. But there is someone who tried, in the snake's territory, the leader of the village. And lastly, he will have several experiences in the human world. Since he is from the forest, he may end up finding it extraordinary. However, this is where the danger lies, as there will come a time when he may experience pain and frustration, or even plunge into darkness. But don't get lost. That's all the old man asks. Without further ado, he goes off and asks to come back in the morning, as he has something to give her. He wants to be alone for a while, and in the morning, he and Alaga go to the old man's house, but something unusual happens. The old man is gone. F to our darling Darian. He died sitting up and proud. That's a real man. Helmet says goodbye and leaves the house while Alaga tries to comfort him, so she gives him a parting gift too. Something that was left in the forest with him, a locket. On it, it was written, "May there be light in your path," and the name Margaret Irene. Perhaps that is her mother's name. It is not known. What we do know is that it's time for our little Helmet to go to his destiny. At night, at the human farm, The bald man had just entered his house when he was surprised by Helmet, asking the way out of the forest. When the bald guy tries to refuse, he quickly gives him a reason to avoid it. You know, a lick of that sword does a huge amount of damage, son. He even says that if he dies, Neho will wake up, but Neho can't raise anyone from the dead. As long as the bald guy goes out of the ditch, he'll be happy. And after trying a lot, he finally gives in to Helmet's request and says he'll show you how to get out. Along the way, he inquires about Darian and discovers that he is dead. Because the boy is very strong, the bald man asks him to stay and be his disciple, because one day he will have to leave the farm to someone, right? But Helmet denies it, he just wants to leave the place. Then he discovers the location of the waterfall, where both water and demonic energy weaken the divine barrier. But even weakened, it is a high-level barrier. Helmet then decides to spare the guy. Worst thing he's ever done. You have to finish the job always, my young man. But this he learned from Darian, who said to take lives seriously, because he only survived because Alaga had mercy. But that doesn't stop him from tying him up and leaving him there while he leaves. But like I said, it was his worst mistake. Bald starts doing black magic there and invokes Neho, saying that the situation is critical. Darian died, and his disciple is right here in this spot. Seeing the opportunity, Neho quickly leaves the lair and goes in search of Helmet. If he had licked the guy, none of this would have happened right soon. Helmet realizes that the creatures are running away without even looking at the guy, so it only means one thing, that he has to run as fast as possible. But even running, it's inevitable. He already draws his sword, because Neho appeared. The creature says it was anticipating its visit sooner or later, so now that the time has come, why extend it any further? Then the fight begins with a mega explosion from Neho's boat. Helmet tries to prepare for an attack, but the snake is faster and quickly surrounds him. Death is right in front of his eyes. Helmet takes a breath and thinks of Neho's weak point. A huge snake full of impenetrable scales, the only holes exposed are the eyes and, However, Helmet attacks the creature's eyes, leaving it bewildered, buying him enough time to get away from there. But he didn't count on Neho ripping his head off. Right, what an old bison snake. Then she goes up and Helmet defends, but flies away from the place. This helped more than hindered him, because he managed to hide. Right, he knew the snake was strong, but this level, she is nearly impossible to defeat. And when Helmet was gone, the snake senses his presence. That place was his habitat. It's impossible to escape from Neho, but Helmet can't die like that. And that's when something happens. Alaga appears to defend Helmet. The final fight is about to begin. Alaga's energy was overflowing, so she tells Helmet to escape, because things are going to start to get ugly. Helmet even tries to stay, but Alaga tells him not to waste her effort. He needs to go now. But I think it's safe, right? A snake with two heads that now only has one, against an angry leopard. Who wins the fight? Comment your theory of why below. And finally, after several days of running away and defeating creatures, he arrives at the waterfall. He only has one chance given by Darian and Alaga. He cannot waste it. That waterfall really was different. The demonic energy was barely present, and his seed was reacting. Luckily he covered it with this. But another unexpected creature appears, the Agrel, the sovereign of the north. Helmet remembers that Alaga said she was quite curious, so he decides to use that to his advantage. Agrel then notices something familiar about Helmet, the scent of both Neho and Alaga. She asks where he belongs. It could define her life. Helmet replies that it belongs to Alaga, so the creature assumes that Alaga's family has invaded its territory and is furious. But Helmet says he didn't come at her behest. He came for his own reasons, which makes the creature curious. Then he starts to make her even more curious, saying that it can be significant for her and such, because he will be the first being to cross the barrier and leave the forest. Quickly the creature laughs, but Helmet says and asks to try. Although he is a rare prey, a human, there will always be humans falling in the forest, but the only one who will pass back will be him. And that ends up convincing her, who allows him to try and more, will protect him until he reaches the barrier. Also, in case something happens, she asks him to say his last words, so that they can be passed on to Alaga. The only thing he asks her to say is to say it and he survived, regardless of the result, so as not to make her sad. And then after concentrating his vis, he dives into the water and goes to the barrier. There are many difficulties. The murky water does not help him, but he needs to get out of that place, regardless of what prevents him. Divinity, it is the purifying power that protects humans and eliminates negativity. This power is penetrating right into your heart. He cannot maintain his consciousness. Demonic beasts that became humans, or a human that became a demonic beast. Which side does he belong to? We'll only find that out in the next video. So if you want the next part, comment below leopard. Also don't forget to like and subscribe. And that's it. Thanks for watching.